Today's episode of Behind the Numbers is brought to you by Hafley Flanagan. Hafley Flanagan is a full-service accounting firm that's been serving our clients since 1967. We are not your typical accounting firm. Our services extend well beyond tax and audit to include valuation services, strategic and succession planning, leadership development, and more. When you work with Hafley Flanagan, we help you realize your long-term goals. Learn more at hfco.com or call 856-722-5300.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Behind the Numbers. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and we are coming to you live from the RVN Television Studios. And to my right is Chris Strohsahl, who is the President and CEO of Drummond Scientific Corp. Chris, I want to welcome you to Behind the Numbers.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is my pleasure. Thanks for being here. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and Drummond?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I'm a biophysicist by training, but from that I've spent the last 20 years in the diagnostic and med device space, first as a developer and entrepreneur, and now as a manufacturer and investor at Drummond Scientific, where we have a passion to make devices that create and save lives.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about what Drummond's doing.
Yeah, so we are a contract manufacturer. Our customers are the best and most innovative companies in the med tech space. Our combined products have revolutionized the field of IVF, and they enable the monitoring and maintenance of some of the most important health conditions that we know.
That's very cool. So you've got a mission. It's more than just making a product.
Yeah, we do. I think having a mission is really important, both in terms of corporate development and keeping a focus on what's the important thing and what we should continue to do more of, and more importantly, opportunities to pass upon should they not fit with our mission. It's also easy to have a mission when the products you make genuinely do good for the community. We allow families to have babies. We then allow those babies to grow healthily and prosper as long as possible.
Yeah. For the audience who probably isn't familiar in any kind of great detail about what's involved here, can you talk a little bit about the process of getting a device to the market?
Where do we want to start? So when you think about getting a device to the market, the first thing that comes up, the first idea is identifying a problem that needs to be solved, and then developing a solution for that problem. We call that the 0 to 1 problem. Peter Thiel, in his book 0 to 1, memorialized that quite beautifully. Drummond doesn't focus on that. I used to focus that in my past. Part of the reason my first startup failed is because we had the 0 to 1 problem solved, but we couldn't scale it. Mm-hmm. So where Drummond comes in and where we want to really be a partner to our customers is helping them go from the 0 to 1 problem is solved, they've identified a problem, they have a solution for it. Now how do we get to that point where we can make thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of those at a price that's economically beneficial for all stakeholders, the company, the manufacturer, and most importantly, the end user.
Yeah, and you said something there that I want to touch on, because you mentioned that you want to be a partner with your customer. And I know that you've got a keen distinction between having just a customer and being a partner. Why don't you expound on that relationship?
It's somewhat of a continuum, but in my opinion, a customer is strictly a transactional relationship. You want something from us, you pay us for it, and we give it to you. Those relationships are fine, but they're pretty limited with respect to what they can become in the future. Partnerships are just that. It's a relationship we start very early on with our potential customers. We help them and guide them with the design of their product for manufacturability. Because what we don't want is someone to spend a lot of time, money, and effort developing a really eloquent solution for a problem, only to find out that it's not manufacturable at scale. Because in that case, it truly isn't a solution to a global problem. And we've seen that too many times where people come to us with this great product that they're so proud of, and it's just not manufacturable. And
Right.
if a simple decision, if they went right instead of left early in the process, could avoid all of that.
Yeah, and in terms of challenges that you may face day to day, I'm guessing regulatory issues are probably a key consideration for you?
Not as much for us it is for our partners.
Okay.
Part of the benefit of being a contract manufacturer is we get to sit in the background. So we manufacture to spec, and we will guarantee that everything that we produce and send out is to that spec. The regulatory burden is generally foisted upon our partners, and they take that because they're taking the branding responsibility and they're taking the customer-facing responsibility. Now that said, having a partner in the manufacturing business who can guarantee the quality and the specifications of what they're producing becomes very, very important when you are going through the FDA or other regulatory processes.
Yeah, and when I think about the device space, I mean, technology obviously is a key component in obsolescence. Is there a typical technological life cycle for these products, Chris?
So we've had partners with us for the same product for decades. Part of the benefit of developing diagnostics in the regulated space versus those that go into the unregulated space, like the at-home test that you're getting, is as hard as it is to go through regulatory, once you get through it, it actually becomes a bit of a moat to protect your technology because it keeps others out. Mm-hmm. Our products generally are near commoditized enough that they don't get obviated, or they're the last things to get pushed out. That said, we do have our more aggressive customers who are constantly trying to better their products will reinvent, and that's again where the partnership comes in. We want to work with them early on, so the product that we're making for them that they're trying to obviate, we're also partnering with the device that's coming behind it.
Gotcha. Chris, for anybody who's out there in the audience who wants to learn more about you or Drummond, what's a good way for them to connect with you?
So LinkedIn is a good general way to meet me, but the best is my email, which is my last name, at drummondsci.com. That will find me at all times.
There you go. Definitely check him out on LinkedIn. It's easier, probably.
It is.
One of the things I like to talk to business owners about is what's keeping folks up at night. And I hear a lot of different responses to that question. So I'm curious, what's keeping you up at night these days?
Well, we just got through a global pandemic that changed everything. And I think what that did was it exposed a lot of weaknesses in the manufacturing and supply chain issues at the country. And balancing, making sure that we are ready for another event. I'm not saying it's going to be a pandemic or anything, but making sure that we have the capacity and the flexibility to pivot when something dramatic changes the market, as a COVID-19 did, is really important for a company like Drummond Scientific or any contract manufacturer who doesn't have that first-hand access to the customer base. We respond when our customers respond.
Right.
And again, the flexibility is, and the anti-fragility, if we're going to quote Nassim Taleb, is really what's important to surviving those ups and downs.
Yeah, so, I mean, how do you, not even anticipate, but what can you do? As you said, like, you're behind the eight ball, you're waiting for your customers to respond. So how do you think proactively? What does that look like?
It's really a question of diversifying your ability. It's portfolio management.
Okay.
Right? So if all we did was focus on one specific industry, IVF, or the monitoring of diabetes, we would be way, way more at risk for these events that shift a lot of funding away from that. So what we try to do is really invest in our people, have an incredible engineering team who's capable of pivoting our foci almost at the drop of a dime. And an example of that in COVID. Prior to COVID, we had never assembled an LFA test in the history of the company.
Explain that to the
So
audience.
LFA, we're all very familiar with the COVID tests, the at-home COVID test that we had. Those tests need to be assembled. They're two pieces of plastic with a nitrocellulose strip that is what we see the lines, or hopefully not the lines,
Right.
show up when we're negative. Those have to be assembled. Historically, they had been assembled by hand. A lot of them have been assembled offshore. During COVID, that wasn't really acceptable. We had to scale it up. So our engineering team was able to do that and build new machines rapidly and now create another product line and offering for the company that we're excited to grow. And again, that wouldn't have been capable if we hadn't invested in the people and had the engineering staff available to do that.
Right. So aside from the business operations side, putting on your hat as a leader of an organization, any key lessons, takeaways that you came out of from the pandemic?
Yeah, the biggest lesson that we came away with is if you take care of your people are going to take care of you. And we are very proud that we did not have to let any employees off. We did not lose any employees to sick days. We stayed open the entire time. And again, the more you can work on preparing your people to be flexible and to have the capability to pivot, the stronger you're going to be as an organization.
Yeah, well, amen to that. You know you're preaching to the choir when it comes to that stuff, and congratulations that you didn't have to lay anybody off. That's quite an achievement. Want to kind of dovetail on that topic and talk to you about the importance of team and culture. Mm-hmm. I know that matters to you, so I'm going to leave it open as a free form and let you take that answer wherever you want, and then we'll play with it.
So it's funny you bring that up. I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I used to coach CrossFit, and people would say that I'm a good coach. And I would always push back and say that a coach is only as good as his athletes. And I think most of the great coaches in history, the Dean Smiths, the Phil Jacksons, the Roy Williams of the world, would agree with that. I think a management team is only as good as the sum of its parts. I think there's got to be a synergy there. And oftentimes, if you have a good team, it's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 7. Yeah. My team on the management side is fantastic. They are all self-starters. They don't need guidance. I have the full confidence in them that when something needs to be done, they'll do it. And that works its way down. They've all become tremendous leaders of their teams with respect to giving the employee a level of responsibility that they maybe didn't think that they could handle, and then allowing them to succeed, which just then becomes a virtuous cycle.
Yeah. You know what? I want to continue that conversation with you, but we've got to take a commercial break.
Sure.
So you sit tight. Folks watching and listening, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Behind the Numbers after this quick break.
Big Flamingo Insurance, what do you want?
Yeah, can we get the auto insurance policy?
Anything else?
Can we add an extra driver?
Number form combo, your premium comes with pickup spot too.
Okay.
When it comes to insurance, you don't have to sacrifice service to save.
Wait, this isn't even the right policy.
Upgrade to NJM and get the 5-star customer service you deserve with discounts you'll love.
Excuse me, Mr. Rollerbird?
No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. NJM. Get a quote today.
You can be confident choosing Farmers Insurance. There's no need to knock on wood.
Perfect.
This is an unnatural amount of natural light.
Thank you.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hey, Jake from State Farm. I want that personal price plan. So how's this for personal? I draw mustaches on players' faces when they're asleep.
Coach Reed, you don't need to get that personal to get the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Oh.
Coach, it happened again.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of this.
Call or click to get a quote today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
She found it. The feeling of finding the psoriasis treatment she's been looking for. Sotyktu is the first of its kind once daily pill for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis for the chance at clear or almost clear skin. It's like the feeling of finding that outfit psoriasis tried to hide from you, or finding your swimsuit is ready for prime time. Dad, once daily Sotyktu is proven to get more people clearer skin than the leading pill. Don't take if you're allergic to Sotyktu. Serious reactions can occur. Sotyktu can lower your ability to fight infections, including TB. Serious infections, cancers including lymphoma, muscle problems, and changes in certain labs have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, liver or kidney problems, high triglycerides, or had a vaccine or plan to. Sotyktu is a TYK2 inhibitor. TYK2 is part of the JAK family. It's not known if Sotyktu has the same risks as JAK inhibitors. Find what plaque psoriasis has been hiding. Ask your dermatologist about Sotyktu for clearer skin. So clearly you. Sotyktu.
Hi, my name is Dave, and I am Metro.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I am Metro.
Hi, my name is Josh, and I am Metro.
Hi, I'm George. I am Metro.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I am Metro.
Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm Metro.
Hello, my name is Seven, and I am Metro.
My name is Chris, and I am Metro.
I am Michael Barretto, President and Founder of Metropolis Passenger Logistics, and we are Metro.
Today's episode of Behind the Numbers is brought to you by Hafley Flanagan. Hafley Flanagan is a full-service accounting firm that's been serving our clients since 1967. We are not your typical accounting firm. Our services extend well beyond tax and audit to include valuation services, strategic and succession planning, leadership development, and more. When you work with Hafley Flanagan, we help you realize your long-term goals. Learn more at hfco.com or call 856-722-5300.
And welcome back to Behind the Numbers. I'm Dave Bookbinder, and he is Chris Strohsahl, who's the president and CEO of Drummond Scientific. And Chris, I want to kick off this segment and shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about your journey of entrepreneurship, because I think that's an interesting story, and I think you describe it as from a biochem major to a CEO, and I think you kind of think of yourself as sort of an unlikely CEO. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so I went out of undergrad to graduate school to get my PhD in biophysics, knowing that I was never going to go down the traditional route of an academic. I wasn't going to do postdoc and then get a job. I thought I would end up in industry somehow, but our lab was quite entrepreneurial. 2 years before I finished my PhD work, they had spun out a startup, also in the diagnostic space, and it really enamored me. And from that point on, that became my goal. I happened to be fortunate enough to be working on technology that had that capability as well. So the final year of my PhD work, while I was writing my dissertation, I was also writing business plans and trying to raise seed capital. And the day after I defended successfully, fortunately, I started our startup. The good news is that was a life-changing experience that I am forever thankful for. The bad news is it failed because for a lot of reasons, most likely the largest being my own experience and naivete. Timing was bad. Our first professional raise was September of 2008. It was unlikely, it was going to be very difficult for a first-time entrepreneur to raise significant capital in any environment. In that environment, it was almost impossible. So the company folded, but through that I had made the connections that allowed me to first become a consultant with other startups, and then eventually Drummond Scientific, and then that road led to where we stand today.
Yeah, and you mentioned failure, and a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs I've talked to and read about always cite failure as a trigger for great success. And I think you had mentioned something in our earlier conversation that success was really a function of failure and fear.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that.
So, can you succeed without failing? Yes, absolutely. Can you know what your true potential is without failing? No, you can't. Again, I hearken it back to training. If you've never failed a lift, if you've never failed a back squat or a bench press, you can get strong doing that, but you'll have no idea what your max ability is. And so it's really about hitting your potential, and failure is necessary for that. Failure is also the best teacher. I was having this conversation the other day with one of my colleagues about startup companies and what is a desirable entrepreneur to invest in. And I told him quite bluntly that if all things are equal, if I'm looking at two entrepreneurs, one who was successful previously and one who failed previously, I'm going to invest in the one who failed previously because I know that he learned more.
Interesting.
Whereas the successful one may have learned a lot, but they also may have been lucky. And you can't guarantee that that luck is going to come around again and again and again. And honestly, it's success is luck, obviously, but it's also preparation and drive. And it's if you think about a Venn diagram, it's where those two overlap. That's where the success occurs.
Yeah, so much to unpack there, but let's move into the identification of entrepreneurs, because you mentioned at the top of the program that you're also involved in angel investing. So let's understand a little bit about that, and then I want to explore what you're looking for in businesses and entrepreneurs that you consider to be investable.
Right. So angel investing, angel investors writ large, are generally individuals who invest at the earliest stages of a startup's existence. They're the first money in before professional rounds, although many angels are becoming more professionalized. Generally, they're the non-lettered rounds, the seed, the pre-seed rounds, but they will occasionally invest in the Series A, Bs, and beyond. I am a part, along with Drummond Scientific, of the Mid-Atlantic BioAngels, which is a group of life science only focused angels in the Mid-Atlantic region, primarily New York, New Jersey. And our general focus as an angel is to help technologies come from that idea stage and get to market, right? There's a bit of a philanthropic bent to angel investing because the risk is extraordinarily high. Yeah. And if your overall goal as an angel investor is to make tons and tons of money, you're better off putting that money in an index fund, because as we've talked about earlier, most startups fail, and the money that you put in, while it may be necessary to get a company to the ultimate success, very likely it's not enough. And so you're going to have to rely on a lot of factors that are outside of your control.
Yeah. Now, are you looking for a specific rate of return on these investments?
Personally, no, I'm not.
Interesting.
Again, I would love for them to be all successful, but my personal take is I'm investing money and in a way paying it forward to help technologies that I believe in and that I believe will help push society forward. If they return money, great. At the risk of paraphrasing you to you, I think you can generate a lot of great return by doing good, but that's not the biggest bent in my investing philosophy.
Interesting. It really is. It's fascinating, and thanks for the shout out there. Tell the audience, if you could, without necessarily divulging any secret sauce, but I think there's a lot of folks who are leaning in and wondering, so what's your method for valuing these entities, and how do you determine what that valuation looks like?
So again, there's the personal side and then there's the Drummond side. So I'll talk about the Drummond side, because Drummond will invest in startups as well. We call it venture manufacturing. And for us, the valuation really comes down to what type of added value beyond the monetary can we add? Can we add help as a design and scale partner? So our window for what we'll invest in is much narrower. We'll invest in companies that are creating products that have the ability to scale to millions a year, tens of millions a year. If I'm looking at it from an individual perspective, to me the value is the people first. The entrepreneur has to be someone that I believe in, who I believe is passionate and driven about the problem they're solving, and some level of experience, especially in the diagnostic and any regulatory space. I think if you are in the tech space that's unregulated, you can get away with having a little bit less experience and really just going on horsepower in your ability to think and develop really clever and unique solutions to a problem that exists. Going through anything that's regulated, device, therapeutic, what have you, there are so many loopholes that you need to be able to avoid and work your way through. You can't learn that rapidly. You have to have the experience or have people around you who have had the experience.
Yeah, I'm still fascinated that you prefer an entrepreneur with failures as opposed to somebody who's been there, done that before, because so many times I hear investors talk about they want the serial entrepreneurs. And you did make the point that a lot of times those successes are attributable to luck.
Yep.
Have you had any of those luck instances in your business that you were able to capitalize on?
My entire existence at Drummond is luck, right?
It's a modest guy here, folks.
Well, no, it's not. So when I was with my first startup, I got a random email from an investor who showed an interest in the company. And I was getting a lot of those, and most of those, as I'm sure you're aware, went nowhere. Yeah. And I was this close to ignoring it, but I didn't. We had a conversation, we liked each other. He didn't invest in the company, but we continued the relationship. And it turns out he was the son-in-law of the majority shareholder of Drummond Scientific. And so when my company failed, I called him, started consulting for Drummond, and again, random email. I did nothing, I answered it. And maybe that's the real takeaway here is you never know who's going to be able to help you, so be nice to everybody.
Yeah, that's a great point. And lean into opportunities when they come your way.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. So today's episode of Behind the Numbers is sponsored by the accounting firm Hafley Flanagan, and I believe you've worked with them in the past. What's that been like for you?
We have. It's been terrific. You know, it's funny, the commercial is not your typical accountancy, and we don't use them for any accounting work whatsoever. So we started working with our mutual friends Beth Renga and Hal Evanson about 5 years ago when they were still Trilogy. They helped us implement our management system. And since then, we now work with a number of Hafley's terrific executive coaches, myself included, who's worked with Mark Celentano for the last 4+ years.
That's great. I know they'll appreciate that. We're getting close to having to wrap, but before we do, tell the audience how they can connect with you if they want to learn more about you, Drummond, or angel investing aspect of what you do.
Absolutely. LinkedIn's going to be the easiest route, or if you want to hit me up directly, my email finds me at all times. It's my last name, @drummondsci.com.
All right, Chris, I'm going to put you on the clock here in about 60 to 90 seconds max. I'm going to give you the final word to share with the entrepreneurs, business owners that are out there in the audience. What are some of the key lessons that you would want to impart if you were talking to maybe your earlier self, or if you met one of them in an elevator and you had a short ride and you wanted to impart some wisdom?
So if I were talking to myself now close to 20 years ago, the thing I would say is demand a relationship with your manufacturing partners and start that as early as possible. For anyone who's going into the diagnostic or the med device space, realize that whether it's Drummond or it's another contract manufacturer, they will work with you oftentimes for free for a long time. because it's in everyone's best interest to design the product from the very earliest stages for manufacturability. It gives you the highest rate of return in terms of getting to the market and truly solving the problem that you are targeting.
Great stuff. Chris, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. It was really an interesting conversation, and even the interesting stuff during commercial break was fascinating.
Absolutely, Dave. This was a pleasure. I look forward to doing it again.
Deep thinker and a humble guy as well. Definitely check him out and connect with him on LinkedIn. I want to thank the folks at Hafley Flanagan for sponsoring today's episode of Behind the Numbers. As Chris said, they're not your typical accounting firm, and you can find them at hfco.com. Definitely check those folks out. The more of their guests that I have on the program, the more I hear great things about that firm. I want to thank the Big Cheese for running the board. As always, thank you there, boss. Appreciate your help in running the program. And thank you out there in the audience for watching and listening. My name is Dave Bookbinder, and if you're a business owner and don't know what your company's worth, definitely hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. That's all for today, gang. We'll see you next time on Behind the Numbers. Take care.